this week's episode of Young and Hungry. I'm Nat Bush, joined again by
Steve Busby, and I'm injured.
Yes, you are. You want to tell the folks why you're all broken there?
Yeah. At Revel, we like to try and get out and ski as much as possible, and it finally caught up with me after 400-plus days on the mountain. I decided to crush my shoulder, so
Just
here we are.
He's more on the hungry side than the young side.
Yeah, that's right. We're getting old here. So
let's start with some recap from our first episode about the start of football leagues. Some news with the AAF. They struck a couple new TV deals. One's going to be with Turner, so they're going to have one regular season game and one playoff game on TNT. Which I'm pretty sure is similar. That's the network that had XFL way back in the day.
That's right.
And then NFL Network also signed a deal with them. So they're going to be streamed on CBS, Turner, TNT, and the NFL Network over the course of
It's not NBC? It's CBS?
NBC.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
All right, yeah. So NBC, TNT.
No. It's CBS.
It is CBS.
It is CBS because it's the same network that did the Super Bowl.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. So either way, Charlie Ebersol just striking more deals and getting more exposure for the league. I'm really excited to see that one.
Yeah, I think they're going to have some pretty big numbers this weekend on CBS, just kind of building off the hype of Super Bowl. People probably craving an actual good game of football. We'll see if
that wasn't the right way to
delivers.
end the season.
No,
that wasn't the right way to end the season.
Especially for a year that felt like it flew by.
Yeah. I mean, the championship games were fantastic. I don't know if we've had a better weekend with two playoff game or overtime games. That never happens. But for it to end the way it did was definitely left people with a little bit of
Very
something. I don't think it could have worked out better for these leagues that are emerging in the spring, summer, leading up to next year.
Yeah.
So it definitely left us hungry for more football.
100%, and I think it's going to be interesting to see AAF's numbers this weekend.
Yeah, no doubt.
Let's get
we'll
into
watch closely.
Esports. I think that's something that's been a big buzzword that we haven't really talked about too much.
Yep.
Nielsen just kind of put some recap of the year. A lot of folks on Fortnite, obviously, with it just being a giant game. Epic Games raking in $3 billion of profit this past year. So I want to get into it with Fortnite. They peaked their viewership in May of this past year, and 45% of the viewers are 13 to 17-year-olds. So we're talking almost half in that, prime age of marketers trying to get to them and really, they're going to start making money, making their own decisions.
Yeah, Adidas refers to this age group as the creator demographic, right? It's the next chapter of influencers. So 13 to 17 is always a key demo, but unique challenges from an experiential or in-person marketing perspective of certain CPG products you cannot legally market to under 18. So it'll be interesting to see how, a company like a Doritos or Cheetos or whatever enters the space and starts to get in that, because we just saw a big lift from 17 to 18, 8% rise in non-endemic sponsors coming into the fold.
Yeah, so
really hard not to talk with your arms. I'm realizing.
Yeah, you seem like you're in a little box here,
like T-Rex armed.
But yeah, that's a good point. Non-endemic sponsors in the esports space overall up to 49%, up 8%, as you said. And then one thing about Fortnite, they're pretty exclusive for who they choose to partner with, and they did a really cool activation this weekend on Saturday. The DJ Marshmello had his character perform in a concert in the game.
Yeah, and that's a whole new level of engagement that nobody's ever done before, right? So seeing how brands react and capitalize on an opportunity like that will be interesting to watch. And circling back, I mean, the 8% rise may not seem that significant from 41 to 49, but we've noticed it too.
Yeah.
In conversations that we've had, I feel like brands have been way more open. I mean, we've had multiple this week without listing the brands that we've spoken to that a year ago, same time, I remember them being like, it's wait and see. And there's still a lot of brands that are in wait and see territory. But brands everywhere are starting to get it a little bit more. And people aren't saying, what is esports as much. They're starting to say, how do I leverage it? How do I activate it?
It's also that of the choice of not being able to ignore it now.
Right.
It's so much bleeded over with entertainment. And it speaks to the activation with Marshmello this past weekend.
Right.
I mean, I read a stat from Nielsen that said he had a song called "Check This Out" was up 24,000%.
That's ridiculous.
24,000% on one video just because of his activation.
So I wonder if that then, from a almost partnership perspective, musicians that are looking to boost their own brand are going to partner with this. I mean, let's go back to where this really all started. It was Ninja and Drake doing a live stream
and
together, Travis Scott, and it blew
Juju
them
too.
up. It blew them up, right? Okay, I'm just saying, like in the line though, of how these things progress. Like Ninja and Drake.
Well, I'm saying Ninja, Drake, Travis Scott, and Juju were the four that were playing together.
Right. And the stream, I mean, boosted all of their profiles, right? So now, Marshmallow's capitalizing on that. Look at the, 24, did you say 24,000?
24,000.
Yeah, okay. So that's ridiculous.
And that's not numbers, that's percentages too.
I mean, everybody's trying to lift their brand.
And I think it opens up more opportunities for concerts, even to displaying TV shows or different activations inside the game. Epic's really pushing the boundaries of what esports can do. And then building off that rise in non-endemics, some deals of noteworthy that have happened in esports. As of recently, Dr. Lupo, who's a Fortnite streamer for Team Rogue, he got sponsored by State Farm. And what's big about this deal is he's the first individual to get sponsored by State Farm. So not a team, but an actual individual, similar to Aaron Rodgers or Randall Cobb.
And I think we've talked a lot, and State Farm's obviously one of the brands that really capitalizes on the individual athlete. But we've had a lot of conversation with brands that are not sure how to leverage esports, vaguely speaking, but they do seem interested in how do I get to the influencers? How do I impact my market segment through the Michael Jordan effect? So we've heard this question coming up. I think State Farm's the first major one to really take advantage of an individual rather than an overall team,
especially on a
non-endemic
scale like this. You've seen Monsters and Rockstars and some of those sponsor individual people, but never an insurance agency, some non-endemic. So it's curious to see, and I think it speaks to it's the growing rise of esports.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, look, there seems to be every day a new announcement. Another one that's top of mind is NYXL Overwatch League team just announced T-Mobile. So T-Mobile's adding to their roster of esports.
Second Overwatch team that they're sponsoring.
It's pretty amazing. And I think even other traditional sports are trying to capitalize on what we'll call gamification of sports. And, you look at this is maybe a greater reverberation or impact of what FanDuel and DraftKings did by gamifying and making sports gambling legal in a way that it was. It's a more active, engaged experience. It's daily, but when you blow that out, MGM just announced their partnership with the Sacramento Kings, where they have. It's not a real currency; it's a digital currency experience where you can you have set amount of coins that you can bet on. Points in a quarter, gamifying the entire experience.
Definitely.
They're prepping the world for direct engagement.
And the Kings are on the forefront of merging technology and the stadium experience. It's really something special.
Well, I mean, you got to look at it from this lens, right? Like the NFL teams, the MLS, and we'll get into that in a second. But all of these major leagues are trying to tap into the esports demographic. I like what the Kings are doing because they're kind of combining. They're gamifying their own fan experience, which lends really well and keeps, in my mind, traditional sports in play because it is, it has that real factor.
Yeah, definitely. And building off of, you all right there, bud? You gonna break your other shoulder? Building off of that combination of blending traditional sports and esports, some partnerships that just happened recently that I wanted to bring to light are Kellogg's signed a 3-year extension with the MLS and to make Cheez-Its and Pringles the official snack of the league. And one aspect of the deal is they're actually going to be the presenting sponsors of the sports lounge for the EMLS leagues. So another partnership where it seems like it starts with the traditional sports, becoming the official snack of the overall league, and then the esports is tagged on as an added bonus.
This is just a little funny side note, but don't you just see frustrated parents here in the near future? Like they take their kid to the game, and the kid's like, I want to check out the esports lounge, and dad's just like, no, like we came here to go to the game, not for you to play FIFA. It's hard enough to get you out of the game room in the house. I see that as a hilarious angle, but like they'll probably have opportunities for you to play against people for prizing, like engaging the audience in a more impactful way. But that's just like a funny thing. I could totally see that complaint becoming like when we go on to have kids, that's going to be a real thing. So either way, I'm more interested over the course of time. The next year, 2 years, 3 years, what's it going to mean that there's an esports lounge within these stadiums, and how populated and busy are they going to be throughout the course of a game? That's really interesting.
I think it's just going to continue. I mean, you're going to see these pop up in virtually every stadium, or paired with giant events, and I think they're going to be an experience that people are going to want to go and see, and I think they're going to be packed. I mean,
and even the functionality of them, like they're going to be open all the time.
Oh, yeah,
so where they're positioned in the stadium will be interesting. I mean, if they put it in the physical stadium, you've got to give people access through and into the esports zone. But I don't know if you've ever been in a major facility when no one's there.
I have.
It is an insane.
It's a ghost town.
It's a Walking Dead eerie feeling.
Eerie.
But I imagine that they'll build these on the outer edges.
Yeah,
and build them into the facility, maybe as an extension of or breaking off a certain zone. But it does, from a revenue perspective, allow these stadium owners to have a consistent revenue stream on days where it's down.
Definitely, and I think it kind of speaks to taking that 41 game calendar for home games for the ML or for the NBA and NHL and expanding it to 365, or
right.
Whatever league you're going to, expand that to a full yearly calendar of revenue and
right.
getting people excited about it. Another one that's bleeding the traditional sports and esports that overlap is a recent deal with the NBA and AT&T.
Mm-hmm.
So they started a deal, and as part of that, they're going to activate within the 2K League, which recently just said that they're going to grow to 21 teams for this next year. So another one of those partnerships that where the traditional sports and esports have a lot of overlap, and it seems like it's an added bonus onto the deal.
And again, in the argument of who was first, I think the NBA of the professional sporting leagues was the first one to really adopt esports and
yep.
move heavily on that. Just fantastic work being done there. Let's transition into some
one more
okay.
that I forgot to mention, but I read about a quick deal where the Minnesota Wild partnered with Face It and Mall of America to put on an NHL tournament in the Mall of America. Okay. So another one of those traditional sports. So we got the MLS, the NHL, the NBA, and then the MLB. They're a little farther behind.
Right, but they're going to get there.
They're going to get there.
Everybody's going.
And even
did you see, by the way, the I don't know if this was a mess up or leak of information that was incorrect. I mean, we see so much of that in social media today, but MLB The Show tweeted, hey, keep an eye on this account tomorrow, and then Philadelphia posted pictures of Bryce Harper bats, and it didn't turn into anything. So
it sounds like a young Steve
as
in
a Philadelphia Phillies fan.
It was open up my presents. I hope I get Bryce Harper, Manny Machado.
Bryce isn't coming. He's not coming. He just met with the Padres. Like he's going to be the most hated person in Philadelphia if he doesn't go.
But that's Philadelphia.
Either way, yeah, it is. It's Super Bowl champs last year now, I have to say.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll see how it all plays out. Either way, point being, that was an interesting thing to keep an eye on.
Yeah, definitely. One more deal I want to bring attention to in esports before we kind of wrap up this podcast here is Team Liquid. They added Honda as a sponsor.
Right.
Which not the first automotive partner we've seen in the space, but the way they're partnering is pretty cool. They're going to do a video documentary series, and they're actually giving Team Liquid a fleet of branded Civics. That they can use to go and from tournaments to training facilities. So something pretty cool there. I'm curious to see how these video document series come out and what these Civics are going to look like.
I'd love to know the specifics of the relationship.
Yeah.
I think the auto industry is one really interesting for how they're going to leverage that. We'll have to watch that closely and really document what we think they're doing well and not well.
Yeah, definitely. And then to bring it back to the Fortnite, 45% of their audience being 13 to 17,
right?
And I think gaming overall has a younger skew to it. These are people that in the next 5 to 10 years are going to have that disposable income. They're going to be making the first-time car purchases. So to get into the space early and build that brand loyalty is great for these car companies to really, get these early buyers before they actually enter the market.
And the demo though of Overwatch League, Team Liquid is which game? Where
Team
are they
Liquid
focused?
plays League of Legends. They play
everything.
a whole bunch of stuff, yeah.
But I imagine overall their demographic skews a little bit higher than Fortnite.
It's probably a little bit higher than Fortnite.
They're probably hitting at the low end, that first car purchase. I don't. I came from people that get a lot. Yeah, no, but people weren't getting a lot of new cars. But I think where you get to in the median average of that like 24-year-old male, that is a sweet spot of where people are buying their first car. So it makes a ton of sense that they're targeting that and going after it aggressively.
And the earlier you can, plant the seed in someone's head to build that
get them the whole
loyalty,
way through the process.
Exactly. The easier it's going to be to make that sale.
Okay.
Down the line.
How about the Ford VR Built Ford Tough activation?
Yeah.
What do you think about this?
So that was around the Super Bowl. They had basically an F-150 that you would sit inside and put on this VR goggle, and you had a map of America. You would push, I don't know, wherever you're from or wherever you wanted to, and then you'd go on a virtual road trip to the Super Bowl in Atlanta. So kind of a cool activation there, building on the VR experience.
They put you in a VR experience for 14 hours coming from Denver?
Yes, yeah. You're just sitting in traffic. And
we've got a great activation for you. It's a 14-hour car ride. Sit in the back. Enjoy it. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm sure it was obviously like sped up, whatever, but I'm interested to see the reaction to that. I think, one of the fun parts about where we are in esports right now is everybody's trying everything. Yeah. Like there's so many different ways to leverage this, and a lot of it's discovery. So much of it is we tried it, and I think there's budgetable opportunities that you can test and leverage and then scale. And that's what's so great about esports right now is the eyeballs and the numbers there are really challenging, linear and broadcast TV. I mean, we literally, on a brand discussion this week, had a conversation with a major Fortune 500 company that said, we're not seeing it in broadcast anymore. Like, we can't measure it. It's so expensive. The ROI isn't there. But in digital and specifically in esports, we're having phenomenal success. Like we're seeing direct click interaction. We're seeing purchase intent. I mean, that's all it comes down to.
You can spend a whole bunch of like Super Bowl's a perfect example. You can spend $5 million for 30-second time slot, but it's hard to know how many of those people watch your commercials are actually transitioning into sales and revenue for your company.
Right.
Versus with the digital channels of esports, it's much easier to see. You click on it, you buy, you get the discount code, you do whatever, and you can easily track, okay, we spent X on this and we got Y in return. That was worth it. Versus TV broadcast is getting a little bit murky. I mean, I guess it always has been.
Well, there's still, I mean, an entire few generations that relies on that. But as we get older, it's going to be purely digital. And I think there's an opportunity for a internet-only based company to emerge here in the next decade, a major new player in the space. I'm expecting that. I do think if, the Comcasts and the Time Warner and all those types of companies don't make a major strategic shift in where they're putting their dollars into purely on that digital side, they're going to lose a lot of market share. So it'll be interesting to watch that over the next decade.
I think so too. And I mean, it's only going to, I think we're going to see the transition we have seen the transition from TV to streaming and more on computers and phones. I think we'll see it more to phones and tablets, more mobile. So it's going to be curious to see how that plays out.
Cool. Well, let's wrap up today's episode. I think definitely. Good end of the week kind of roundup. We're just trying to keep everybody abreast real quickly of what's going on in the industry. Next week coming at you, we're going to have Greg Clifton from Omaze on. Going to be talking a little bit about fundraising and how it's done in partnership from a digital perspective, and the unique ways that they're really, in our opinion, dominating the industry and doing phenomenal work over there.
Yeah, definitely. So let's just wrap it up with a quick trivia question. So I mentioned earlier that Fortnite peaked in viewership back in May of this past year. So how many years, we're talking years of streams, like people watching it, how many years did people watch of Fortnite in the month of May?
It's a $3 billion company.
Yeah, so
I imagine the streaming is well into the billions of hours, I would think, at this point. So years, I'm going to guess 100 million.
Okay, I thought he was going to be on the under edge, but you actually overshot it.
Really?
So, yeah, so we're talking about 130 million hours watched in the month of May.
Hours.
And that converts to days, about 14,840 days.
Okay, all right. So I'm way off.
You are.
Yeah. I think I got confused there with the hours.
Excuse me. I am actually off.
Yeah.
I'm talking about years.
Okay,
that was almost 15,000 years, not days.
Okay,
so
okay. So I was right on with the hours, but I was saying years.
Well, you said 1 billion hours, so it was actually 130.
All right. Well, anyway, either way, these questions are ridiculous. There's no way I could be prepared for these. Either way, he's stumped me now like 3 times. I think I got close on the last one, but maybe he'll throw me a bone and give me a little bit easier one next time.
Sean helped you out too with his attempts at the trivia questions the last couple episodes.
Did he blow it too?
He's
yeah, it's always good stuff.
That's what you get for asking the questions and making them up. It makes you look a little better.
Well, guys, we appreciate you joining us again. We'll be back soon with the next episode, and as always, if you have any interest in engaging with our content, shoot us a line. Let us know if you are interested in being on the show. If you have a deal that you struck that you want to have some awareness built around or call attention to, it's certainly something we want to focus and talk about. I mean, at the end of the day, we're looking to get you, the audience, aware and give you insight into these deals and opportunities and major things going on with the industry that you can't typically get from the resources we have available. So we want to talk about it. We want to understand it, and we want to learn from it so we can all get better. So appreciate you guys joining us, and we'll be back to you in a couple weeks.